All right, I'm going to go through now and demonstrate how to use Packet Tracer. And this is using version 7.3, which came out December the 10th, 2019. And if you're in Cisco version 7, you have to use at least Cisco, at least Packet Tracer 7.3. At the time of this recording in January of 2020, 7.3 is the latest version. So I'm now going to go through and show you a few things on how to use it. First, I'm just going to show you how to put things in there, and then I'll turn around and open a file from the Cisco Labs out there in your class to show you what happens when they open. But first, I want to go through and demonstrate point out a few things that you need to be aware of. First one is this button right here. If you notice, it says place note when I hover over it. That will allow you, if you click it, to type stuff onto the desktop. The desktop is this big white area out here where we're going to put everything, and that's called the desktop. So I have clicked in here. Notice I got a text box now. So I can type my name here, hit enter. Don't worry about spelling errors, actually capitalization. And then if I go back up and click that button again, it'll turn it off, and well, I must have turned it back on. Oh, I got to come back over here to the first button on that line of icons. Click that button, and that turns that other one off. Sorry about that. And now if I come here, I've just got the ability to grab things. So now my name is on the desktop. You can put it anywhere in there, but you are required to do that in my system. Now, the other part is when you go to save these, just use File, Save, and save them. If I do a save right now, this one's not been saved before, so it's going to go into sales. But you'll just use that save button, save choice there under File, or you can come to your save button, which is the same save button you've got in Word and other type things. So those are those. You'll be able to add things on here and such. So now what I want to do is I'm going to flip back over into my class, which I'm not going to show you. I'm going to leave you see this screen right here. But I'm going to flip back over into class and open a Packet Tracer file. So I'm going to go into, and I'm actually going to choose the first one you do in chapter 2, because that one actually does not score you on anything on it, which I'll show. Actually, I'm not sure if that's a really good one to show you. I guess it really is. Actually, I go to the curriculum correction. I'm going to the wrong place. You got to go to the curriculum in Netacad. So I'm going to have to log on real quick. So I was not logged onto there. Give me just 1 second. Actually, I'm going to change screens in just a second as soon as I get logged on and show you where to find these files. I'm trying to type the password in correctly right at the moment. So we will change slightly from what I said I was going to do. So now, because it has changed with this new version of the curriculum, with version 7. So I'm going to change on what I'm viewing here and collaborate. So we're going to stop sharing for a second. So I'm going to should have allowed me. Oh, I guess I stopped sharing here. Okay, now I'm going to start sharing again. I'll choose an application again. I'm going to go to Cisco site. And now y'all should see in just a second the Cisco curriculum. Now, mine says, let me flip back over here. Mine says I'm teaching. You say I'm learning. Actually, I have all 3 categories. I'm managing because I'm the manager of our academy. I'm teaching, which has a number of courses down here. Way more than those 3. It's got like 10 of them. And I'm learning because I'm actually taking some classes from Cisco also right now. So now I'm going to go into the course. So I'm going to click on the Launch Course button. Give it a second. I'm recording this on the holiday, and you would think it would be rapid. Then I'll go into Modules, or you could have gone from the button down here on this screen. And then I'm going to go to Introduction to Networks course. So that's where your curriculum actually is. Then I'm going to click Load Introduction. Now, to find your packet tracer files the easiest, the thing I would suggest do, because this is all your curriculum down here, and this is it chapter by chapter, is come up here, and there's a button here, and I hover over it, changes the course index. If I click on it, it indexes everything through the course. However, if you look at this bar up at the top, it says there's the text, which is stuff you read, the interactive activities, and the animations, and the check your understandings and videos, which are all part of studying it. And then comes packet tracers. And then labs, and I'm not exactly sure what syntax checkers do exactly, but we're not doing the labs in this class. I'm not assigning those to you. I'm just assigning packet tracers. So uncheck all and check packet tracers. Now, I do not assign you all of the packet tracer labs. For instance, in chapter 1, there was one to do, and I did not assign it. Likewise, in the packet tracer course, the only things I believe you have to do is you have to do the quizzes and the course feedback, even though they have some packet tracers you can do in there. So the first lab you were assigned was 2.3.7, which is listed right here. If I click on it, it then takes me back into the curriculum, to that spot in the curriculum, which you could have scrolled down, opened, expanded 2.3, and found it down here, or to me that got you there quicker. And here's that little section. And notice there's the other sections on down here below that. So the first button just gives you the directions. The second button, notice it's got a Acrobat PDF on it. The second button has a download symbol on it, which has the same name because it's the same lab. And if I click that one, it then will download it. I don't know if y'all are seeing where it actually then goes to download it onto my computer. Let me flip over here and see real quick and see what y'all are seeing. No, you're not seeing that. But it does tell me, it gives me a save as box, and so I can see where is it saving it to. So, and it's a PKA file. So I will do save. Now it's on my machine, and in Chrome, it actually pops up down at the bottom of the screen for a link for me to there, or I could go to downloads and find it. So now I'm going to click it. That will open Packet Tracer. And it appears with 7.3, you're not going to have to log into it if you're already logged into Netacad, but you may. So now, let me see what we're sharing. Let me go back and change that to the Packet Tracer again so that you can see what I'm seeing. So I'm going to stop that share, and then I'm going to share the Packet Tracer file. And so now you should be seeing what I'm seeing. Let me double check. And yes, you are. Okay. Because I have to be on the actual screen so you can see my cursor move around and everything on there. It is going to give you an initial screen that says user profile and this. You can just cancel on that or click OK. I think OK will work. No. I would normally just hit cancel on it. Although you noticed I saved no. Okay, so now you've got some preset stuff here that Cisco has already preset up for you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put my name in first thing right now so I can make sure I've got it in here so I won't forget on it, because if you don't do it, it will be a substantial penalty on your assignments. And then I'll click back to the first button. That's just a pointer button. And now I've got this. All right, if I want to add, and normally you're not going to have to do much of adding devices, but if you do, this first one right here says routers, which is what's currently chosen. It gives you a whole set of different routers you can use. You could click on one, come up here and click, and we've just added it. Well, if you didn't want that one there, all you do is that takes me into it. And where did my symbol go to? They've moved things around and I've just lost some stuff on here. Okay, there's the delete button. It's a backspace looking symbol with an X in it. So if I click it, whatever symbol I've got already chosen, it will delete it. And so I can click yes, and it's gone. Now I want to go back to the pointer again, or I'm still deleting anything else I click. Now, so sometimes you may have to add some of those, but not often. Here's the one you're going to most often be using is you're going to have to add cabling in there. So if you click this lightning bolt looking one, that's actually for cabling, and that actually gives you a serial cable in there. Then you notice all these buttons here changed. Those are all the different type of cables we can add. So if we come over here, actually in this first assignment, they tell you in your directions you need to put a console cable in. That's this light blue cable. You would click it, come up here, and if we want to plug it into the PC, which we do, we will then click on the PC and it gives us all the connections on the PC. Now, that's not ones necessarily it can fit into, that's all the ones that are available on there. So we could plug it into any one of them, try to plug it into any one of those. It won't let us plug it into the wrong shape, but they're offered as choices. So the one we actually want to plug in this case is the fast Ethernet. So we'll click that, and notice now I've got a cable here that I can go wherever I want to go with. And so then I want to go to the switch. I'll click on it, and it gives me all the ports that are available on it. Well, this is a console cable, so it goes into the console port. Most of the time through the course, you're plugging into these ports on the switch. When it tells you to use a certain port, make sure you use the correct port or you won't get credit. In this case, I have to use the console port. It's not going to work like I want it to work. So I'll click console. Now I've got a connection there, so it is connected in. Now, if we were going to using a regular one, so that's that one. That's the console cable. This next one will be your Ethernet cable. The following one will be your crossover cable. And then you've got some serial cables over here to use if you need to use those, and several others. And I'm not sure why it doesn't want to hover over for me right at the moment, but it's not. Normally, it should hover over and tell you what it is. Now, most of the time through your assignments, in Packet Tracer, you get cheat. So you can, most of the time, click the device and go into CLI, and it will let you in, and you can do everything directly in there. However, in this first assignment, they're having you do it like on real equipment. On real equipment, you can't just go straight into the switch or the router. They don't have keyboards and mice connected to them. You have to go through a PC that is connected with that console cable to the console port. And in the PC, you'll use something like PuTTY or Terra to get in through there on a terminal emulator. So I would go into the PC, and then I can go to desktop, and you've got a number of options available to you on the desktop. Terminal is the one you're going to use on this one. Other times you're going to use this IP configuration where you will put in your internet settings, your IP settings for your devices in there. So that one will turn up for that. And then to close out on it, I'll hit this X right here. You also may have at some point used a web browser that's not really going out to the internet, but it's going to when you set up your own server on it. And wireless can be set up the same way. Most of these others you're not going to really use, but it's got lots of things it can do down here. So we're going to use, you'll use command prompt once in a long, long time. But the command you're going to use is terminal and IP, and IPs are one you're really going to use most. But on this assignment, you're going to use terminal. This is actually the screen you would get if you started in through PuTTY or through another terminal emulator. The settings in both cases on this and in the emulators are set correct by default, so you just click OK. And then we should get a connection to the switch. I'm not sure why we're not getting a connection to the switch right here. We shouldn't have had a yellow. Oh, I plugged that thing into the wrong port down here. Sorry about that, people. Let me close that, because that does not plug into the fast Ethernet, which is why it's got a yellow rectangle on here. So I'll plug it in again. It actually goes into the RS-232. It actually has a fast Ethernet connection on it, but goes through a converter into the RS-232, which is not on the new machines. So there's ways around that one. Now, if you notice, I've got little buttons on both ends. If I come back to here again, start terminal again, click OK, and lo and behold, I'm in the switch. This looks almost the same as if we were going into a real switch and using this approach. And when you go into the switch directly, you'll see you'll get a similar screen. So let's just stick a switch on here real quick. Whoops. Here we go. So I'm going to choose switches. I'm going to choose a 2960, stick it out here, and then I'm going to go into it. I'll go to the command line, and notice that's almost the same thing you had showing on that other screen. And notice it says press return to get started right here. So I'm going to close this one out because that's, come back to this one. And so there, and these all stayed open actually. If we went down to your icon bar, you had them all available with it. You could jump around in them. So there's the press return to get started. The return key is enter key. Used to be called return, particularly back on the terminals. Now is changed to enter on it. So I'll press that, and I get my command line. I'm at a prompt that says S1 greater than sign. The S1 says it's referring to this switch. And that's the name that's labeled underneath it. And so now let me come back to it again. So there's that. Now, once you get in here, first thing you're going to need to do is you are going to have to get in privileged mode. So you'll type ENA for enable, or you can spell it all the way out if you want. Most commands you can abbreviate as 3 letters. Sometimes it takes another letter or 2. As long as you get enough letters that tells the machine exactly what it is, you're fine. Otherwise, you'll get an error. Because if I just do EN and hit enter, it actually works. So we could actually do it in 2 letters. I've always heard it as ENA. Didn't realize you could do as 2 letters. Notice the prompt changed from a greater than sign to a number sign. I'm now in privileged mode. Now I can do stuff. You're going to learn later on where we can set, real quickly, you're going to learn how to set security on that to not let people get into privileged mode without a password. And even later in training, you'll see where you can actually set it up on usernames and passwords and set restrictions on what they can do. Now, once you get in there, one of the big commands you'll use through the whole course will be show run, which actually stands for show running dash config, knowing the running configuration. That's the configuration file that's sitting in memory that we're running. Think like in Word. In Word, when you open up a document and start editing it, you've actually got 2 copies of that document out there at that point. You've got the one that's stored on the disk, and you've got one in memory. As you make changes in it, it changes stuff in the one in memory, but the one on the disk stays the same until you save it. Well, that's the same case here. So show run, and we're going to see we can actually see the other one. The other one's actually called startup-configuration, and actually it'd be show start, show what's in it. So if I type show run, hit enter, it then shows me at this point, all of the preset commands in it. So you notice all the interfaces are in there, but there's no information of it. And there's some other stuff down here and so on. And that it's got some preset type things. If you hit the space bar as you go, it says the page is full and it pauses. If you hit the space bar, it gives you another page at a time. If you hit the enter, it will give you one line at a time, just for your information. Now, if you want it to change settings in there, you would use the configure terminal key. Oops, I got to spell correctly, which we can abbreviate as config T. And actually, if you talk to most people that use Cisco devices all the time, they'll know it as config T and probably can't tell you it's configure terminal because they know it all as config T. Notice our prompt changes at this point. Now it says config in the prompt also, because we can do configuration stuff. So, for instance, I want to change the name of this machine. The command to do that is host name, which can be abbreviated host. So I can type host, and then the new name I want to give it. We're going to call it CIST because this is for use in this class. But always name it whatever the assignment says to name it. That's what they're going to grade you on. So then I'll hit host CIST. Notice the prompt changed, and no longer says S1, it now says CIST. Now, it's not going to change it on the screen there, but it's changed it in here, and it now notices that. If we want to come out of here, that's all we want it to do in configuration. We can do a Control-Z. It takes us back down one level, and it gives us a little message mixed in here after the prompt. You can actually start typing your next command in right where you are. But if that seems clutterish, which it always does to me and confusing, just hit enter, and it'll give you the prompt back again without the clutter around it. And sometimes there's things you do that start popping some commands in there. So you can just ignore them as you type even, and the device knows how to read it. Now if I do show run, and I hit space bar, and I'll look right here on the first screen without hitting the space bar. Notice right there in the middle of the screen, now says host name CIST. Previously it said S1. Notice it's the whole name spelled out there also. So it converts it to the full name out there. So then I can hit the space bar, come out of that. If I want to save this, what you need to do on your amendments for me to be able to see exactly the same thing, and they'll tell you when you need to save regularly. The command is copy run, which stands for running dash configuration, start, which stands for startup dash configuration. So we're going to copy the one that's in memory to the one that's on the flash drive that's built in the device. So I'll hit enter, and notice I misspelled copy. An error for that because copy has a Y and not a T, and it tries to point to where the error is. So it said it was here at run. Well, the error was really just before that because it didn't know what in the world COPT was. So now I'll do copy run start again and hit enter. Now it says the destination file name is startup-config. I said configuration is actually just config. It will always prompt you with that. That's where you do want it to save to, and that's what its reading start is. And hit enter, and it saves it. And notice it builds the configuration, says OK, it's now saved. So it's out there, and that one that's saved, the one we're running is the same one. That's how you're going to go through on that stuff. Now I want to show you a few other things in here. I'm going to go to the instruction file. And let me flip over here for a second to make sure y'all are seeing the instruction file, which you are. Okay, so let me go back over there to it. And on here, this one doesn't have scoring on it, so it actually doesn't show you. But it would show you a score over here. I'll open another one in just a second and show you on that one. But here we can do check result, and it would tell you a number / number, or sometimes a percentage. If it's percentage, you're trying to get to 100%. If it's a number over a number, and this is page numbers down here. If it's a number over a number, the first number is how many points you do have. The second number is what's the maximum you're trying to get to. If you don't have 100 on it and you're going, well, I want to see why don't I have 100, to check results. It will then open. I don't. Oh, wait a minute. It just took me back to there and changed screens. And so it changed to this screen. Let me make sure y'all are seeing the screen I am, because I have to. Yes, you are. Okay. So now it closes the other two screens temporarily. You haven't lost anything in there. It's just does it that way. You want to go to the second tab. This one tells us we've successfully done it all. But we want to go to the second tab. And on here, it will actually tell you the things you got right and wrong. If you got them right, it'll give you a green check. If you got them wrong, it'll have a red X. So let's close this. Close this. It actually opens up the other two screens at this point. Now, I could do a save and save the work I've done. And so I'll come up here and I'll choose save. And it is saved on my drive, on my machine, under that name was downloaded as, in this case, 2.3.7 Packet Tracer Navigate the iOS.pka. My name is on the desktop, and I did everything that was required. So when I turn it in, I will grade it as 100. So now I'm going to close this. If you hadn't saved it, you'll get a little message. So I'm going to close that. Actually, that's odd. It says any unsaved changes will be lost. Well, we just did a save, so there should be. But I want it saved, so I'll answer yes anyway. Now, I'm going to go and open another document from out there at Cisco. So I'm going to leave your back screen for just a moment. Give me a moment back on this, because I'm going to come down here to another. I think the next lab actually, the next lab actually, and I'm just going to show you some information in that one. So, and you actually get to go directly in on this one, as far as I know. So I'm going to save this one to downloads. This is 2.55. I'll open it, and then I'll be able to share the correct screen with y'all. It's just about open. It's open. Yeah. So let me share the screen with you, and then you can see what I'm seeing. So we'll share an application, and that's this one. Again, here's the user profile when I came in. And sometimes this is a little slow on grabbing this quick there. So now I've got a user profile when I came in. I'm just going to click cancel on it this time, because we're not using that. And notice I've got this nice little screen here. Again, I would have to put my name on the desktop. I'm going to be short. And the last name will be fine. And then I'll hit onto the search type things. On this one, notice if I click on the switch, I just need to click once. If I click twice, it doesn't do anything. And there's the CLI. Oddly enough, on this switch, usually you can see the picture of the switch and stuff. There's a physical there. And you can see the front and back of it, but they just gave you the CLI on this one. And so this is ready to go, this one at this point. So they've given you a way around on it. And they've actually cabled this one for you already, and notice the PC is talking to the switch. Switch 1's talking to switch 2, and PC 2 is talking to switch 2 because you've got green on both ends, which means they're talking to each other. Physical will actually show you how it's laid out on wherever. If you were looking at it more in terms of a physical setup, this is just looking at the devices and not about where are they actually located at. Now, I'm going to switch here and go to that other screen on here, so that now there's my direction file, like we said before. Now, notice down here, give me 1 second, I want to double check y'all are seeing what I think you're seeing. Yes, you are. And, whoops, now you're not. Now you are. There's the directions, and that's the same thing as the Acrobat PDF file. So you don't need to get the Acrobat PDF file because everything's built in here. If there are any questions down in here, put the answers in a Word document and submit that Word document with it. Looks like on this, yeah, there's some questions down here. But notice over here on the right side, completion, 0%. Since it is a percent, you're trying to get to 100. If we go to check results and go to assessment items, notice everything down here has got red X's. They fixed this assignment. In the previous version of this assignment, in the version 6 of the book, the banner MOTD, which is message of the day, and it used to be where you'd put in messages for your users each day. Now it's normally a security warning saying, if you're not authorized to be in here, you're in violation of the law. And it's usually in legalese on telling you to get out as fast as you can. But notice all these red X's telling us the things are either not done or they're incorrect. At this point, we know they're not done. But I'll show you real quick. I'll stick an MOTD in S1. I'll have to look at the directions. So now I'm going to close this so I can get back to the directions and come up here where the MOTD direction was. There it goes. And their requirement was well, it doesn't look like they got a requirement on it. So let's see what happens. So we're going to click on the switch 1. I'm going to hit enter. Well, I've got to click in here. Sorry about that. Because you got to be inside of it. And I'm going to do ENA to enable to get in privileged mode. Then I'm going to do config T to get into configuration mode. And then I want to put in the MOTD. So I'm going to flip back to the directions real quick, just to make sure we do it like they want it done. So it's going to be banner MOTD, and I'm just going to put this as a secure system, and we'll see what happens. So the command is banner. There's different types of banners you can actually put in these things, but MOTD is really the only one you're going to use. Like I say, it used to be message of the day, which is what the initials stand for. When I ran a terminal-based system back in the 80s, that I would put messages on for people like, have a good Thanksgiving. The system may be going down at 1 o'clock today, sign off by then, etc. Now, whatever you use as your delimiter to mark the beginning of the command can be anything. You can choose a letter here, but you're going to use the same one to finish it at the end. I like where they're using the quote sign now. And then make sure you end the delimiter, hit enter, and it should be in there. I'm going to exit out. I'm going to do a copy, run, save. to make sure it, not copy run save, copy run start, sorry, and hit enter on that. And so I've done that. Now I'm going to go in and come back and open up the other screen for the directions. Click on the, notice I've got 15% done now. So we know we did do it correctly, but we're going to do check results to see what check results shows us. And so now I'll come up here to assessment items. And notice up here on banner MOTD on S1, I've got a green check mark. So I've got 15 points earned, and these all have different point values on what it is. And it gave me 15 points on that one. So now I would just have to do the rest of the assignment. You want to get it to 100. If you, and actually it says I successfully went in to start. I did save it successfully too. That's why I got 15 points. Is that I saved it correctly. I did the MOTD, and then I correctly did my save on it. Because I did the copy run start. So I'm already underway here. So it tells me this assignment actually has 72 points, and I've done 11 of the 72, which converts to 15%. So you just keep on going. If you run into one that you can't figure it out what it is, you can ask me a question on it. I may well ask you to send me the .pka file, this file we're in here working on. And then I can look and see exactly what you've done and then be able to advise you on how to do the work correctly. These are not big files, so they'll email without a big problem for you across. They also will fit with no problem into the Dropbox and Blackboard. So I will do a save here because copy run start here did not save the file, remember. That just saved inside that switch, but it did not save it in the .pka file. So now I will do my save. It should be that button there. And I usually prefer just doing file save. And then I can close it. And it still says about that. And we know we saved it. So apparently it doesn't keep a record very well on that one. And remember, this is a completely new version of Packet Tracer, so we may find a bug in it. All right. So that's a preview for you of Packet Tracer and using Packet Tracer 7.3. I hope that was useful to you. And I'll try to do some other stuff to go along, but also watch the live Collaborate sessions, or if you're in the hybrid classes, we'll go over some of this stuff in class. I'll stop